Sens Talk is proud to be powered by Ottawa Interlock Repair for the 2025-26 Sens season. For all your interlock needs, visit interlockrepair.com. Sens win 2-1 over the Philadelphia Flyers to snap the 2-game losing streak. Sure, they got a point the other day against the Edmonton Oilers, but we got both tonight against the Philadelphia Flyers with the first 60-minute complete effort by your Ottawa Senators. Finally, thank goodness, thank the hockey gods. A complete 60-minute effort by your Ottawa Senators as they take down the Philadelphia Flyers. And a big win, not, because the playoffs are around the corner and whatnot, but after a 4-game homestand, you want to finish it off with a win before you go on the road, right? So a big way to finish off that homestand there against a Flyers team that actually has been pretty decent this year. Vladar has been one of the better goalies this year as well. That's the goalie for the Flyers. So a bit of a tough test for Ottawa, and they held strong. But 30 seconds into the first period of play, we're just going to jump right into it. To the first period of play, 30 seconds in, it looked like, maybe I shouldn't say it's a full 60-minute effort. It's a full 59-minute and 29-second effort, because 31 seconds into the game, the Flyers strike first. And it's typical Sens fashion, first goal on the first shot. But still, a seeing eye shot, I guess. But a shot from distance through bodies, beats Ullmark top shelf, blocker side. It's an innocent-looking shot, but that's one he wants to have back, no doubt about that. And the Flyers strike first. Ottawa allows the first goal for the 7th time in 8 games this year. That is insane. And again, after this opening goal, and I know there's a weird, intro here where I'm fired up for the win, and then I'm talking about a goal 30 seconds into the game. But ultimately, after this point, the Sens took full control of the game. Hold on. Best part of the theme song here. Bum, ba, 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 ba. All right, there we go. But again, after this point, this is kind of why I wanted to segue right into it, because after this point, it was all Ottawa. Sure, the score doesn't reflect a dominant Sens win, but Ottawa in all facets of the game, other than maybe the power play, which we'll talk about in the game notes, was fantastic tonight. And after Ottawa was down early, they responded, putting on a lot of shots, and then less than 10 minutes in, it's Michael Amadio responds to tie the game up at 1 apiece with his first of the year, a low glove side shot off a great cross-zone pass by Claude Giroux against his former team to tie things up at 1 apiece. A nice play as well by Shane Pinto along the boards just around the neutral zone in front of the bench to kind of set up a pivot, let that puck go off the board through his legs right to Giroux, and then Giroux to Amadio, who finishes off the beautiful play to get Ottawa on the board and tie things up. It's Amadio's first goal in 19 games. And we continue on now, and after this point, the Flyers, with a couple minutes left in the first period of play, thought they scored. Ullmark somehow kept it out, and the Sens avoided a catastrophe in the final couple minutes as they leave the first period tied with the Flyers at 1 apiece, leading in shots 13-9. Again, ultimately, I just wanted to mention that because the Flyers, they didn't have as many shots as Ottawa. In fact, Ottawa outshot them by more than 10 plus. However, the Flyers had a lot of high-danger chances. After 40 minutes of play, for example, the high-danger chances were 9-4 in favor of the Flyers. So while Ullmark wasn't tested often, and we'll talk about this later in the video, he was tested with high-danger opportunities. So he made some big stops, this being one of them. But before we continue into the second period of play, I want to give a quick shout out to Dylan Puckniak and Keller Williams Sports and Entertainment for sponsoring Sens Talk. Sens Talk is proudly presented by Dylan Puckniak, Ottawa's exclusive realtor with Keller Williams Sports and Entertainment. Providing a bilingual real estate service that serves the Ottawa-Gatineau community, Dylan Puckniak is also specialized in supporting professional athletes that come and go in our city, providing a service that takes care of the people at the highest level. For a realtor experience puts you and your needs first, visit dylanpuckniak.kw.com. That is dylanpuckniak.kw.com to find out more today. Again, thank you to Dylan Puckniak and Keller Williams Sports and Entertainment for sponsoring Sens Talk. So you know how I mentioned how Claude Giroux, got a point against his former team? Well, here's a goal for another guy against his former team. Oli Lykesell gets his first as an Ottawa Senator as Ottawa strikes to make it a 2-1 game. They take their first lead of the night, and literally seconds before Oli scored here, the Philadelphia Flyers got away with one because Lykesell had a semi-breakaway, Vladar with a nice save, but that fourth line kept chugging along. Lykesell sent it back to the point. A shot went from the point, and Lykesell off a beautiful no-look between-the-leg pass by Lars Eller. My goodness, what a pass by Lars Eller. No-look between the legs, right to Lykesell, who puts it home, and Ottawa takes their first lead. It's 2-1. Lykesell with his first as an Ottawa Senator as well against his former team. So Giroux, Flyer killer, Leixel, Flyer killer. No wonder the Sens took down the Flyers tonight with these Flyer killers on their team. As a great moment there for Leixel as well. And holy Oli, as you like to say, right? That is a hell of a catchphrase, and I hope we get to say that more and more. We had it's a Mia Madio for the first goal and holy Oli for the second goal. My goodness. It's beautiful. So let's go to the third period of play, and this is where the full 60-minute effort, or 59-29 effort, by the Ottawa Senators comes into full fruition. In that third period, at other points of the year, the Ottawa Senators would have collapsed, given up a couple of goals, some dumb penalties, and wasted away what otherwise should have been 2 points. But tonight, no, not the case. They held it down, shut down the Philadelphia Flyers, and absolutely dominated them. Instead of just standing back and hoping that they can defend their way out of it and get the win, they kept pushing and pressing. They outshot them by nearly double at some points in that third period of play, as the Sens win 2-1 over the Philadelphia Flyers to hold on. Not a high event game, but you know what? We don't ask how the game was won as long as you win. And the Sens got the win, baby. That's how we do it. To finish off the homestand. That is exactly what this team needed. A complete 60-minute effort. While some guys, and I'll talk about it in the game notes, haven't really stood out this year, especially without Tkachuk in the lineup. I mean, I'm talking about some of our top players. Ultimately, when your role players like Amadio, for example, or Oli Leixel are chipping in, you just got to hope that the big guys can get back into it as well. Because if they can get into it while our bottom 6 guys are contributing, oh my goodness, a well-oiled machine for sure. But again, ultimately, this is Ottawa Senator hockey, right? Just like last year, low scoring. Sure, there's some high-event opportunities for both teams, but low scoring, tight defensively, good goaltending, hold on, complete 60 minutes. We saw that tonight for your Ottawa Senators. As Ottawa now is 3-4-1 on the year, again, hovering around 500, and that's all we really need, right, ultimately, but I think we could do better than that considering our schedule is a little bit easier coming up. Even if we're on the road, I think we can win some of these games coming up. So again, until Tkachuk is back, at least stay around 500, stay in the fight, and this is a big win. Again, look, a popular saying in hockey is you can't, make the playoffs in October, but you can miss them. So you got to keep pace with everyone else and keep stacking up points. On top of all of that, you also, you want to win the games you're supposed to win, and you got to win the games you're not supposed to win as well. That's how you make the playoffs. So this is a game the Sens were supposed to win, and they got the win. Now, as I kind of just previously mentioned, I was talking about some of the big guys not showing up. It's great to see that the Sens have, bottom 6 guys contributing, like, again, Oli Leixel, who scored a goal tonight, Amadio, who scored, and then you have other guys like Pinto and Cousins, David Perron, who are stepping up. But without Tkachuk in the lineup, I really expected guys like Tim Stützle and Drake Batherson to step up. And look, Stützle is third on the Sens for forwards in goals with 2, third for points with 5. And, if you look at his overall stats, it looks pretty good. He's second on the team for shots with 24, scoring chances first with 29, high danger chances 9 for second. He's 5th in total with hits for 11, 4 blocks for 4th total. So he's actually been much better than the eye test would show, because if you watch the games, he's not very noticeable. There's been some moments, no doubt about that. He's a hell of a player, so talented. I mean, he's a superstar. We don't call him Timmy Superstar for no reason, right? Himothy, we call him as well. But, him and as well Batherson, who has self-admitted he hasn't been great. No goals so far this year, 4 points total. 8 shots this year as well, 11th. Again, he's played less than a lot of the other forwards, but to just give an idea, these are 2 guys I thought would take over the game without Tkachuk in the lineup. And it just feels like, they're out there and they're getting some looks, I guess, but they're not playing hungry like we've seen them play before. And I've seen some other people online saying this, like on Twitter and whatnot, and I do completely agree that, and I say this because I have high expectations for these players and for this team. And I know they can do better. So I say this with that in mind, that yes, they're not, statistically playing horribly, but they're not really, making an impact in the game. They're not getting into it. They're not, again, Tim Stützle didn't score tonight, for example, right? None of the top 6 guys did. So that's just one example, right? Same with Batherson. So I did think they would take over. They haven't. I need to see them take over. I need to see them be those leaders, those core pieces we know they are. I think it's going to come. It needs to come because it hasn't come just yet. Stützle, again, he's looked, if you look at the stats, great. But Stützle is a guy that should be able to take over the game and be the most noticeable player on the ice. And that hasn't been the case a lot of the time for Ottawa this year. And Batherson, especially with him as well. Again, he's coming off an injury. Let him get back into a flow. And again, look, it's very early in the year. It's only 8 games in, to be fair. But again, I say this because I have a lot of belief in these players. I know they can do better. They know they can do better, so I hope they can do better moving forward. Again, the stats show one thing, but the actual product, if that makes sense, says another, so we need to see a bit more from them. And other top guys, obviously Cousins and Pinto have stepped up, but Zetterlund, who's on the fourth line now, we need to see him pick it up, no doubt about that. I thought he had a better game today, but overall, still, no goals. He needs to step up. He needs to really take advantage of those power play opportunities as well, which we'll talk about in a second here. So Zetterlund's another player that really needs to step up. So, again, it's not just Batherson, it's not just Timmy, but those two get the call out specifically because they're the guys that are supposed to step up when a guy like Tkachuk is out. Speaking of guys that stepped up, though, Linus Ullmark, my goodness, 21 for 22, 955 save percentage, and in his last two starts, 1.96 goals against average and a 915 save percentage, securing 3 out of 4 possible points. Linus Ullmark has had a bounce back the last couple of games. We needed it, and we got it, so thank goodness for that. Shout out to you, Ollie. Some big glove snags as well again in this one. And that's exactly what Ottawa needs. Again, if they get at least 900 save percentage, they are more likely than not going to win the game. Last year, they won basically 95% of the games where they at least got a 900% save percentage. So, again, when Ullmark is doing Ullmark things like tonight, and again, against Edmonton, where, again, he had a pretty solid effort there overall as well, Ottawa's going to be able to win games. Sure, that first goal, we want to save there. He will probably tell you that as well. But after that, he locked in. Again, the Flyers did not have as many shots as Ottawa, but they actually had a lot of high-danger opportunities, and Ullmark was a big reason why all those were stopped. So I just wanted to give a quick shout-out to Ullmark there, who the last couple of games has really rounded back into form, and considering he gets a lot of hate and a lot of, I'll call it animosity from Twitter scouts, so to speak, I think it's important to praise the good as well. Now, moving forward now, ironically, to the back end, to the blue line, so maybe not forward to the defense. I thought Clevin and Manapolo today looked really, really good. And friend of the show, Alex Adams of Sportsnet, put out a tweet, and I couldn't agree more, where you want to have Jordan Spence in the lineup, but you can't really break up Clevin and Manapolo, who looked really good last year with one another and continue to look good with one another this year. So what do? And I said something that he agrees with. I think a lot of people like you and I would agree with. That being Jensen, who I love. I love how he puts his body on the line. I love how he's a warrior, not afraid to go that extra mile for the Ottawa Senators. And I think it's unbelievable that he's been able to come back so quick from such a tough injury. But that being said, he has been playing well. That pairing with Chabot has struggled easily the most for the Ottawa Senators. So because of that, what I would do is I would put Jordan Spence in a top 4 role. I said Jordan Spence has top 4 potential before the season begun, and that being short and long term. So why not give him a chance? See what he can do. He's tied for first on the team for assists, for example, right? And you put him there with Sanderson. Their underlying metrics were fantastic. I mean, unbelievable, the advanced analytics. I mean, unheard of. Again, very short sample size, but unheard of. So those two looked really, really good. I say try that again. Put Chabot and Zub together with one another again as well. We know that works. And then Clevin and Manapolo obviously works as well. And Jensen, as a 7th defenseman, he can come in obviously on a good amount of the games if somebody struggles or you want to switch it up. But overall, that's a very solid defensive core and allows Jensen to also kind of just ease back into it, where I think we're kind of forcing him into a top 4 situation here when maybe he's just not ready for it yet. Again, will that be the case all year? I don't know. I don't think so, honestly. I think he's a very, very talented and strong defender. But right now, he's not playing up to his capabilities, I would say, and I think it's because of that injury and the setbacks he dealt with because of that. So no training camp, no preseason, other than at just the very end. So I think Jensen could be eased into the lineup a bit more. Chabot, speaking of that pairing just quickly, played 26 minutes today. Over 26 minutes, actually. So, holy cow. Shabbat shalom, baby. What a game there for Tom Chabot. Again, this is a classic Tom Chabot game where he just eats up minutes and does it so effectively. And, again, he gets a lot of heat online and from Sens fans and whatnot. He will never get praised for games like this, but he should, because gobbling up nearly 27 minutes of ice time on the back end is huge for the Ottawa Senators, especially when he's not hurting the team and obviously helping the team. Again, you don't play nearly 27 minutes unless you're helping the team. So Chabot again with a classic shabby game where he just swallows up minutes and helps Ottawa get the big 2 points. So with that, one last thing I want to finish off with. The penalty kill today, we've been harping on it all year. Very, very good. 3 for 3. They killed the Flyers on all 3 attempts, so that was great to see. The power play, however, not so great, 0 for 5. Hopefully there's no optional skate tomorrow. My goodness, I hate these optional skates. There better be a proper practice tomorrow, and we need to see some work on that power play and the penalty kill. I still need to see more on the penalty kill, because again, Ullmark was forced to make some big stops there, no doubt about it, on the penalty kill, which you do need from your goalie. But again, some of these chances, maybe we shouldn't just give them those chances to begin with. Besides that, thank you all for watching. The next Sens game is on Saturday, October 25th against the Washington Capitals in the other national capital. So with that, thank you all for watching. I will see you all soon. Go Sens, go.